All right, good morning and welcome back to our channel Prince Seat. Today remains the 2nd of October, and thanks be to God for launching us into the dawn of another day. It's October and we've started spending it already, but I think the future belongs to the bold, from farming to real estate and to other things that you know what to do. This morning, I'm going to be, I want to treat these two submissions that came to us for people who wants to invest and wants to use their life to do the right thing after disbursement. So I've gotten two questions here that I need to treat very quickly, and please, this could also apply to you. So don't think that when we are treating somebody else's question or submission, it might not apply to you. That's why we bring it to the broader audience so that everyone can actually get the benefit of it. You might not know what the future holds for you. All right, so I'm getting the first one from Mr. Mahmoud Ari Babuwu. Say, good night, Princess Sits. My belief is that only God can reward you accordingly for saving lives through your strategic communications, alignment of absorbing lots of life from sudden hypertensive clothes, sicknesses to death. God continue to guide and uphold you mercifully in Jesus' name. Amen. Straight to my question, project, sir. The masses sincerely need your tutorials and guide in respect. I'm happy about the justice you did to cassava farming and export, but next is processing of vegetable oil, as there is much raw materials to harness from. Uncle B is still the same man. Bola Ari Babu, thank you, sir. That's the first one. Then the second question is, good morning, Princess Seats. Please, you are using is it please you are using my limited data to go on break. Please stop it, and thank you for taking the time to respond to questions. Thank you very much. Sometimes we just need to go on a little break just to clear throats and then get composure and all that. So please, I beg your pardon. And I say, well, as for me, after disbursement, I want to go fully into real estate development, gated estates and commercial properties. Please, I need advice on the intricacies of running real estate company. And I'm Ezekiel. All right, so those were the two submissions, and I'm going to treat them quickly before we start giving other updates this morning. So if this actually applies to you, listen carefully and get all the things you need to get from there. This is Prince's Seat. Please, in case you are new, do subscribe and hit the bell so that we can carry on the same platform. Now, like I said before, the future actually belongs to the bold, those who are really bold with this undefeated firmness of purpose, with that tenacity, bravado, and capacity. From farming to real estate, how can you turn your grand disbursement into lasting wealth? You know that in life, the opportunities rarely comes twice. And when God opens the door of provision, what you do with that door that is opened would determine whether you would rise into generational wealth or lose it in the noise of daily consumption. Now, too often people receive blessings, whether in the form of grants, in the form of disbursements, or some sudden breakthroughs that happen to men. Yet, they remain at the same level because they lacked direction. Now, the time has come for you to think bigger than just survival. You must think industry. You must think ownership, and you must think generational relevance. I'm going to be treating these two particular submission, as in fact, these two questions, they are they are part of the powerful sectors that stand out right now in Nigeria and across Africa as what one can call the golden pillars of wealth creation. That is agro-processing, which is specifically, this one is now streamlining it to the vegetable oil production, but it's under agro-processing. And another one is the real estate development. We have the gated estates, the commercial properties, and also long-term property investments. So I'm going to go deep into them I will address the practicalities, the opportunities, also the risk that is involved in these particular ventures, and the wisdom that you need to make this dream a reality and to come to pass. And the first there I'm going to be addressing is the processing of the vegetable oil. In other words, turning the raw materials of vegetable oil into gold. Now, why this processing actually matters? Nigeria is an agricultural nation, but the sad reality is that most farmers stop at just the primary production of planting and harvesting. That's all they do, and that's what they stop at. But the real wealth lies in the value addition. And when I mean value addition, that is the raw cassava, the raw maize, the raw palm fruit, the raw soybeans will fetch little money when it is sold as it is. But once it is processed, and that is where agro-production comes in. Once it is processed into finished goods, such as the vegetable oil, the flour, the starch, or the animal feeds, then the value of that particular product multiplies significantly. Now, vegetable oil in particular is one of the most consumed household products in Nigeria today. And from street food vendors to big restaurants, to families, to industrial food processors, everyone depends on vegetable oil daily. Everyone depends on it. So this guarantees the sustained demand that comes from that organ. Now, the raw materials for the vegetable oil, we have the palm fruits, which is the palm oil. We have the groundnuts, we have the soybeans, we have the sunflower seeds, and also the cotton seeds. Now, Nigeria already produces most of these in large quantities, and this means the raw materials are actually abundant and they are very much accessible. Now, but how do you go into the processing of this? In other words, the processing chain. To be able to succeed in vegetable oil production, you must understand that first you need sourcing and storage of the raw materials. In other words, build relationships with farmers or cooperatives. Have a good rapport, have a synergy with a good communication link with the farmers or the cooperatives. Then consider backward integration by having your own small farms. While you are building relationship with them, also begin to build your own farms little by little, and that is the way you can source or store some of these materials within your farm. Now, if going from there, you talk about the cleaning and the preparations. You having to get ready, removing the stones, the dust, the impurities from the seeds and from the fruits. Then you dry them so properly to prevent mold and spoilage. Then thirdly, you have to crush and press. That's what is called crushing and pressing. In other words, you use the oil expellers or the mechanical pressers to extract the crude oil. Then at this stage, actually at this very stage, you produce the byproduct that comes from the extraction, like the oil cake, which can also be sold as animal feeds. This come in as you are doing the pressing and the crushing. So you also have some byproduct that comes alongside with that. Then you move to the stage of filtering and also refining. Now you have to filter the crude oil to remove the impurities right from the oil. Then you refine it. Refining it has to do with you bleaching and removing the odors. That's deodorizing the oil, which makes it attractive for household use. Then you move into the final stage, which is the packaging and the distribution. You have to invest in hygienic packaging. You know, your bottles, your sachets, your gallons have to be very highly hygienic because branding also matters. After the hygienic process is done with, then consumers trust labels that look so professional and they are certified by NAFDAC approved. You understand? Because NAFDAC approval is quite so mandatory. Now, but going forward, I know that production of vegetable oil is capital intensive. The equipment, is also sometimes on high demand. In a small scale plant, in a small scale plant, you might be thinking of like 5 million to 20 million, depending on the location and the capacity. Then on a medium scale plant, you might be thinking of having like 25 million to 60 million to install this. Then on a large scale industrial installation, you'll be thinking of from 100 million and above. But there are market opportunities for this because the local consumption is huge. Vegetable oil consumption locally is very, very huge. The export potential to neighboring African countries also is there. So it's part of the market opportunities. And then the byproducts that comes out of the processing, like the oil cake, the soap base, they also bring you income. So whichever way, none of these processes runs into loss if you go through it in the right capacity. You understand? So the benefit is that there is a consistent demand for this. Food is a daily need. Food is a daily need. And then there is multiple streams of income from the byproducts also that comes from the processing. And then the possibility of you expanding into cosmetics, into margarine, into some biodiesels and pharmaceuticals also. All of those things are there. So you cannot bypass the importance and the benefit that comes from vegetable oil production. Now, if we advance into the risk management that comes with this particular organ, when we talk about the price volatility, that's the volatility of the price of the raw materials, which is hedged by contracting farmers directly. It's a way to mitigate in this. Then the poor storage leading to spoilage is one of the risks involved in this. You have to build proper warehouse and also silos to ensure that your products are well they are well protected and preserved. Then there is competition also as part of the risk, competition from imported oils. You have to differentiate with branding. You have to differentiate with branding. Natural positioning comes in here, and local loyalty campaigns also come in here. Your branding, your presentation, the way you package things have to really be unique and peculiar so that you can be singled out, because competition most times is what drives suppliers into crazy, because somebody might desire to do it better than you are doing it, or you can desire to do it better than someone else is doing it, and then preference actually comes in from there. Then the regulatory hurdles also persist. It persists, like the NAFDAC, the health standards. You have to stay compliant from day one to ensure that they don't disturb you, to ensure that you meet all of their regulatory checks and ethics, so that you can flow freely through the period of the processing and the supply. Now, don't rush also. If I'm to give you practical wisdom steps from here or guide from here, you should not rush into the temptation of wanting to start big. No, don't rush into starting big. You can begin with a pilot processing plant. You understand? Then you try as much as possible to create the network before the production begins. Meet certain people that matters, that you want to begin with them in supplies and in processing and all that. Then also try as much as possible to invest in quality packaging and branding. This is where small processors actually lose to big companies, because they might not have the capacity to get the resources or the required instrument that is required to make them to stand out when it comes to the quality packaging and the branding. So you have to ensure that whatever is in your capacity to ensure that you stay ahead of the crowd is also done. Then think long term, because vegetable oil is not just about today's profit, it's also about becoming a household name, because it's what is used in every household. You understand? And I think this possibly could give you some level of understanding when it comes to vegetable oil production, right from you starting with the processing, sourcing, and the chains, the technicalities involved, the capital, the benefit, the opportunities, and the risk and mitigations that you needed to put in place to ensure that you become a success in this. All right, I think that should possibly provide some wisdom ethics for you on that perspective. Then on the second question, which has to do with real estate development and the power of land and properties. Now, why real estate is a wealth magnet? They are actually not making more lands. As population grows, the demand for housing, for commercial spaces, and also estates would definitely increase. Now, real estate remains one of the safest wealth preservation strategies worldwide today. And in Nigeria, we observe that urbanization has a way it is exploding very fast. Faster than we could ever imagine. Cities like Lagos, like Abuja, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Owerri, Ibadan, and Kano, there is a way they are expanding so massively and rapidly. Even in some semi-urban areas, they are now seeing gated estates also rising up so rapidly. And with the right vision, that one can perceive or have, real estate can turn you maybe your one-time capital into a continuous streams of income. It can turn you into a massive, wealthy individual. You understand? By the time the property begins to appreciate or begins to add value to it. And I think it's a good step in the positive direction. Now, there are different forms of real estate investment in case you want to enter into this. I'm addressing Mr. Ezekiel now, or people that have the same passion and vision for this. There is the residential development. That is you building gated estates, duplexes, and apartments, and your target audiences are the middle income families and the professionals. So that is, if you have the mind to build some residential apartment and you have a target, these are the people you want to patronize that particular estate investment. Then you have the commercial real estate also, which kind of building shopping complexes, office spaces, warehouses, and you have your target audience as the businesses like the corporates, logistic firms, vendors and the rest of them like that. These are commercial. It's another form of real estate investment. Then another form of real estate investment is the mixed use development, where you combine residential and the commercial within one estate. The residential apartment, the commercial apartment within just one estate. And examples of these are the malls, where the flat is above and the shops are just down or completely, but within the same estate. Then the one that appears to be common to everyone is the one that is called land banking. Land banking, where you buy large portions of undeveloped land and then you hold it for a while, and after which you sell it at higher prices. That's not only the real estate, it's just one of the real estate forms. You understand? That is called land banking. You just leave land to appreciate after you bought it for a while, then you sell so that you can get your profit. Then another form of real estate is what they call short let or Airbnb properties, where you somehow, somewhere, sometime in urban areas, you have high demand for that, and also as tourist centers. So whichever one that suits your fancy that you want to go into, these are just the different forms of real estate investment. But there are intricacies also, just like rightly asked, of running the real estate development. You first of all have to think about the feasibility studies. Don't just buy land. You have to research the demand, the demographics, and also the purchasing power of that area before you say, okay, you just want to do land banking and you want to lead it to appreciate. You need to know the demographics, the appreciation power of that particular area. You understand? It's going to help you. So feasibility study is very important. Then the title document is also important. Ensure that the land has a clean title. In other words, the CFO, the governor's consent, and on like that, to avoid you getting into dispute with anybody or the government or land grabbing mercenaries. You understand? So there should be a title document that is enforced. Then the urban planning approval also is part of the intricacies you need to put into question. You have to secure approvals from relevant planning authorities before you start your building. Then the construction management, the quality matters. Quality really matters. You have to hire credible engineers and architects to ensure that what you are building is of high standard. Then finally, you talk of the marketing and the sales. Without buyers or tenants, even the finest estate will fail. So create strong visibility and also trust when you are doing this. So how do you benefit from real estate? It's important we also talk about this before we end this conversation. Appreciation is part of it. Land and properties rise in value over time. Then rental income also comes into it, which provides you stable cash flow as you rent those facilities out. Then collateral value also is part of the benefit. Properties can be leveraged for collateral, for loans, and rest of them for lease, and rest of them like that. Then wealth preservation also is part of the benefit. Unlike currency, land doesn't depreciate, it always appreciates. Some areas can appreciate more than others, but definitely land has never depreciated in time. It always appreciates. Then the risk and the mitigation of going into real estate. We have the land disputes, we have the fraud. So you have to definitely conduct due diligence with legal experts before you venture into them. Then the risk, or another risk, is the capital intensive. Real estate is cash heavy. So the solution is that you sometimes have to, in case you don't have the funds at hand, you have to do partnerships, joint ventures, and also mortgage, what is called mortgage financing, so that you can help yourself. You can team with other bodies, partners, to ensure that funding is enforced. Then the bottlenecks that has to come from the regulatory bodies, you have to be patient and work with professionals to get necessary approvals. Sometimes it could be difficult just doing it alone, because this is a high capital intensive project. And then if you move together with some partners that are also into this to also secure approvals, I think is a wisdom principle. Then the market fluctuations also is a risk inside here. Sometimes economic downturns may reduce the demand from personnel or buyers or renters. So you have to target some middle income earners for balance, not only the high class ones. You understand? So I think that settles that. I don't want this video to be too long, so I want to just cut away one or two things. Now, the bigger picture here, from agro to real estate, both sectors, whether the vegetable oil or the real estate, they share something in common, which is they are the foundations of human survival. People must eat, and people must live somewhere. These are the two things that pilots a human being. And this means that demand for these both investments are evergreen. Agro-processing gives you cash flow and relevance in food supply. And then the real estate also gives you long-term wealth, storage, and passive income. So a wise man may even combine both of them, using both agro profits to fund real estate expansion. And in that way, one will feed the other. So finally, Mr. Bola Arigbabowo and Mr. Ezekiel, and to everyone with a vision listening to me right now, this is the season to ensure that you rise with precision. Dreams without structure would lead to frustration, but dreams with proper planning skills, research, discipline, and prayer will turn into empires. So when disbursement finally arrives, let it not just vanish into luxuries or endless consumption when the money lands in your hands or in your bank account. Try as much as possible, build in industries, build estates, build legacies. That is what will stand. And you have to remember that wealth is not measured by how much you spend. Wealth is not measured by how much you spend, but by how much you can sustain and also multiply across generations. And I pray that God will grant us wisdom. God will grant us favor and the right partners as we step into these ventures in Jesus' name. If this actually makes some sense to you, then you can share this message for some other persons to also benefit from these investment plans and protocols. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very nice day and a good time as you go about your dailies. God bless you.